All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Christina Marbury, and this is Emily Rao, and we work with Taste the Local Difference. We're here today to talk a little bit about how to create a social media content calendar. So like I said, my name is Christina Marbury, and I'm the marketing director here at Taste the Local Difference. I have worked a lot across the food system and farmers markets, worked on farms and in kitchens, and then also have a marketing background working with a marketing agency for a while. So at TLD, I work directly with food and farm businesses to help them improve their marketing efforts, which obviously includes social media.
Yeah, and I'm Emily Rao, the media and brand manager here with Taste the Local Difference. I am from Michigan originally, but definitely moved around quite a bit to different farms and schools. Throughout that, I did a lot of the communications for those programs and education. I'm also a Michigan State University alum where I studied sustainable agriculture and food systems and worked on that organic farm there. And yeah, it's for TLD brand management. So that goes across social and communications. I get to support work with clients as well on social and websites and copy.
Awesome. So we are talking today all about content calendars, which is really like the system for keeping yourself organized when it comes to managing your social media profiles. So first, we just wanted to talk a little bit about why you should bother with it. Sometimes it feels like an added step, but I like to think that it actually makes it easier for you to manage your social channels, especially throughout the season when you're really, really, really busy. So first of all, it lets you set goals and think about, what you want to accomplish with your social media presence, and then have a system for following and meeting those goals. It helps you to create a strategy in the off season. So this is something that you can do when you're not in the middle of the growing season and really busy, and gives you kind of some time to plan ahead. It also takes the guesswork out of what to post. So a lot of people struggle, when it comes to knowing that they need to post 2, 3 times a week, and they get to the point of, okay, I need to post something today, and they don't know what to post. If you have a content calendar, then you have a strategy all laid out for you. You know what you're going to post about, and it's just a matter of finding the right image or video and actually posting it. And finally, it helps you keep yourself on track. So knowing that you need to post a certain number of times a week can be really hard to keep up with if you have a lot going on. So if you have this strategy that you're following, it makes it much easier to actually keep up and do it regularly throughout the season. So as you're getting started to create this content calendar, the first most important thing to do is to review your past performance, so to figure out what works with your audience. So I like to think of that as, going through what you've posted, depending how often you post. You could do it for the past year, scroll through them all. In Instagram and Facebook, there's easy ways to look at a chart of all of your posts' performance. You can see it in a really quick snapshot, and figure out what posts reached the most people, which ones had the most engagement, and if you have it connected to any sort of e-commerce platform, also trying to figure out which posts actually drove sales. So once you have that figured out, you can also look at the times of day and days of the week that you posted and see if you notice any trends. So trying to figure out if there are certain days of the week or times of the day that your audience tends to be more active and more likely to engage with your content. And then finally, you can also try and identify if you're posting not enough or too frequently. I think sometimes we all know that maybe we're not posting often enough, but people don't think about what too frequently might mean. And it totally depends on the business. But I do think that for the most part, for a small local business, 2 to 3 times a week is a good goal to aim for. So if you're not posting that frequently, doing that consistently will really help your social presence and your reach and, the benefits that you're seeing from social. But if you're posting every day of the week or even multiple times per day and you don't have a lot of followers, then you might be posting too often. And what that means is that your posts are likely to reach less people because there's so many posts that the algorithm is trying to send out to your audience. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, and just to note on that, someone asked me recently, is there a magic number of times you should post in a week? And I said, there's not really a magic number. It's just about consistency. So, yeah, those are all great points. So how do you even start? Um, think of, so a year, obviously we've got 12 months, we can segment it out, but start with that monthly outline. Start with your goals and identify what you're looking to get out of like each quarter or each month. Are certain times of the year obviously more sales driven than others? Harvest seasons, all of that kind of, are you going to be at market or launching something new? You can kind of map that out for your year to some extent. And then kind of highlight which products are most notable in those months. So you can kind of plan campaigns around those products. Um, Additionally, events or holidays, people love to see posts like targeted around a holiday or during like gifting seasons. There's a ton of different avenues. Also, then doing a to-do list for each month. So when you're preparing, if it feels overwhelming to plan out the whole year, you can kind of get your month planned out and then kind of set up yourself for the next in the coming months. This is just an example of kind of what that kind of big picture monthly planning is going to look like. So this is just an example. Obviously, do whatever works best for you, but kind of outlining like this is your year, these are the months, and kind of organize your content into different like buckets or goals for marketing, the campaigns you're looking to do. And this is also where you can track your goals and then how they're measuring up. So the metrics associated. And then just like to-dos, like find pictures. Like we need like to maybe like you want to do a collaboration, that could be a goal for that upcoming month. So like get in touch with so-and-so could be one of your team tasks. Yeah, so this is just kind of laying it all out there.
Awesome. So once you've laid it all out there, gotten that like really big picture idea of what you want to do throughout the year, or like Emily said, for maybe just the next month or that quarter of the year, so you can kind of take it a chunk by chunk. The next really important thing to do is create content groups. So I think of a content group as like kind of a bucket of things you might post about. So I'll talk about more examples in a minute, but a content group could be like staff introductions, right? So you could have a whole bunch of different posts that are part of staff introductions, and that could be one of your content groups. So in trying to identify what some good content groups are for you, definitely, like I mentioned before, and looking back at what performed well, think about what sort of things people tend to engage with the most on your channel already. You can brainstorm content that might resonate with your audience. What things do you think your audience is looking to learn from you? Do they want to know, about your growing practices or how to cook with the things that you're selling? Lots of different things you could potentially share. And I think it's really helpful to think about what questions you get all the time, what your frequently asked questions are, in determining these groups, because anything that people are asking you directly frequently, they're probably going to be really excited to see you share on social media. And then maybe you will get fewer of those questions and save yourself a little bit of time. Um, Also, really important to consider your value propositions. If you didn't watch the first webinar in this series already, we talked about value propositions in that webinar. So go back and visit it if you missed that. And then also, what logistics do you need to communicate with your customers? So that could be like, you need to place your order by Sunday night so that you can get delivery on Tuesday, or we're going to be at this market on this day. Some of those just like making sure people know how they can buy things from you. So, some ideas of content groups, just to kind of get you thinking about this. One is product highlights. So what's fresh right now? What are you like harvesting and excited about? And that can include, pictures of whatever that product is, but also, ways to use it, how to store it, how to cut it up, all of those various things related to that product. Especially important, I think, when you start harvesting a new crop, if you're growing produce. I know the honey season is more of like, we've harvested our honey and we have our honey, and it doesn't change that much throughout the year unless you're harvesting from very specific forage types. But when you have something new, sharing about it as soon as you have it, or even leading up to when you have it, to kind of generate that excitement. I think I mentioned this before, but staff introductions. People want to know the people behind your business. So if it's just you, introduce yourself. Consider sharing photos of yourself regularly, or at least semi-regularly, and sharing, some information about yourself in those posts, whether it's related to your work or related to what you like to do in your free time. Behind the scenes videos, I think, are a really great content group. People love to see how things happen, how the honey gets made, what it looks like when you're like spinning honey to get it out of the comb. Those things that, unless you're really involved in the farm life, you really don't know what that looks like. So kind of how we work, how we do our work sort of videos. And then recipes. Everyone loves a good recipe. It's a great way to sell more food, to tell people what to do with it, because sometimes that's a sticking point in making a purchase if they're not quite sure how they're going to use something. Awesome. So creating a schedule for your content groups. The next step, once you have those groups, is like deciding how many times per week you want to post, determining the days and times you want to post, and then figuring out how those groups fit into the schedule. So I'm going to skip ahead to this calendar because I think it explains it a little bit better. So this is an example of a content calendar that we created for somebody. It's 4 weeks long, so that's, not quite a month, but almost a month. And then you can just repeat it after those 4 weeks have passed. So they're aiming to post 2 to 3 times per week. And we have like, quick look, I don't know, maybe 6 different content groups here. And they might throw in, things that are happening out of the blue within this, but trying to get this good diversity of what's shared. So creating something like this to kind of help you think through, okay, it's the first week, I'm going to share a behind the scenes video, and then I'm going to highlight one of my products later in the week. The next week, I'm going to talk about my fruit sourcing. This is a jam business, by the way, which is why there's, where do they source their fruit to make their jam? Jam out of the jar. How do you use that jam? That's like a recipe sort of feature. Yeah, so this is kind of thinking about how you're going to schedule those content groups out throughout the month, and also how frequently you want to post about each of those things, right? So in this category, in this example, there's 2 product features throughout the month and just 1 local pairing idea. So giving you kind of an idea of how to spread those things out, and then you can revisit how it worked and adjust as you need.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're super into this, or you start this process and it's working well for you, you can always go even deeper into this planning. Because if you're just doing it monthly and quarterly, awesome. But you can identify exactly what you want to put in the post, who you want to tag, what pictures you want to do. You can really go into depth. So we have an example of what that can look like. And so this is a template we sometimes use. This gives you, it pretty much just like makes your job so much easier. You might be using like a scheduler tool, which in that case, this you can just like plug in the information. But if you are just doing it off your phone, this is like such an easy reference. and just a space you can have everything in one section, as opposed to like having a document where you're just storing information. It's just going on and on. So I love how you can choose like what channel, especially if you're posting to Facebook and Instagram and possibly TikTok, like you can choose those. Um, and establish the purpose of each post. So we call that the call to action. And so identifying like, what do you want people to do once they see this post? Like, do you want them to visit your website, visit you at market, go to a retail business that has your honey? Um, yeah, it can look like a whole different kind of things. You still have room for that content theme. And I also like this because maybe you don't want to do this for every single post, but there are some really important ones you want to plan out ahead of time. And this is a great tool for that. And I don't know, was I talking about this,
I
Christina?
think so. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so it's awesome because you have a goal and you're setting out to achieve something. It's measurable. Like you can see it and laid out in front of you. You take the guesswork out of it. And we like to kind of talk about it like if you're like crop planning or like planning your like business, like your market goals for the year. This is kind of fits into that sort of scheduling too. Like you can make your life easier in the long run by doing this. So, and then like doing like employing ways to maintain that throughout the year too by like setting aside a chunk of your time to like dedicate to like refreshing the content or updating the content calendar, interacting with posts. But because you've planned so much ahead of time, you're not spending a ton of time and mental energy on like doing all of the background. And then just make sure that you're revisiting it and seeing like what is working, what content groups respond well with my audience, what are places I need to improve. Like, do I need to cut down on posts? Is it too frequent? Is it like becoming overwhelming? Or are you finding like I could really step it up? Like I could probably post more. And that's something that's going to change all the time. So yeah, just taking if you want to look at it quarterly, that's always a great idea. Yearly is good too, but yeah, you'll find throughout the year it's going to change as well. So utilizing those like analytics tools, a lot of those like Instagram and Facebook, like Christina was saying, will give you data on what's doing well without you having to go back and manually track it all.
Great. So I realized we never gave an introduction at the beginning of this about taste the local difference. So I think we did it in the last webinar, but for anybody who isn't familiar with Taste the Local Difference already, we are Michigan's local food marketing, media, and consulting company. So you've likely seen our free local food guide, our printed magazine style guide that we put out every year. We also, in addition to having, all of our partners who are part of that guide and who we talk about and educate consumers about, we also offer a lot of services to businesses to help them with their marketing, specifically farm and food businesses in Michigan. So we're really steeped in this scene. And as you can see, we've got lots of tools of the trade that help us do this work. But if creating a content calendar is something you really want to do, but you're feeling a little out of place trying to actually do it, we can definitely help you with that. We offer a social media service of an audit and strategy, and also we can do the content calendar creation portion as well, if that's something you're interested in. You can always head on over to our website, localdifference.org, and there is a marketing services page that talks a lot about the different things that we do and has an inquiry form to fill out, but you can also always just reach out to me directly, Christina at localdifference.org, or if you're already connected to one of our awesome regional local food coordinators, feel free to reach out to them as well. Thanks for listening, and we do have one more in this series of webinars about email marketing, so we will see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.